You know, I always find it weird recording with a Star Wars mug when I'm doing Star Trek videos. Hey everybody, Ketwolski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek Soong Files videos. Everything you never wanted to know about the Star Trek. Today we're going to be talking about the TOS crew and where they are now. This is a continuation for the other parts of this video series that I've done. I've already previously covered the TNG, Enterprise, and Deep Space Nine crews. After this video, we're only going to have the Voyager crew left, and I'm thinking about possibly doing just a combined video for some of the sub-characters that were featured in all the different series that weren't part of the main cast, just to say where they are now. So I'm working on that one as we speak. So let's go ahead and jump right into the TOS crew, where they are now. And before we get started on this video, I do want to go ahead and tell you guys again that this video will include both alpha and beta canon sources. To kick off this video, we're going to go ahead and cover the man himself, the legend, James T. Kirk. 1 month after the events on Veridian 3 in 2371, Starfleet intelligence had Kirk's body removed and sent back to Earth. However, the USS Farragut was ambushed in orbit over Veridian 3, and Kirk's remains were beamed aboard a Romulan warbird called Avatar. Seeking to restore her family's honor through vengeance, Salatrell and her dissident group allied themselves with the Borg, and using a combination of Borg nanotechnology, they were able to essentially take over Kirk's Katra and his brainwaves just prior to his death. They revived him in the present. Salatrell then brainwashed Kirk into hunting down Jean-Luc Picard, the only human that the collective viewed as a threat. Kirk was cured of the brainwashing through a Vulcan mind meld with Spock and Picard. Using his memories as a Borg, Kirk and the others traveled to the Borg homeworld in the Delta Quadrant, the same planet that V'ger had encountered centuries prior. During the battle between the Enterprise and a Borg Romulan fleet, Kirk and Picard beamed down to the central node on the planet's surface, in an effort to destroy the collective. They discovered a new way to destroy the central node, but the one who threw the switch would die. Kirk punched Picard and had him beamed aboard the Enterprise. He activated the self-destruction, and the central node was obliterated, severing the links between the branches of the collective. Unknown to the Delta Quadrant mission team, Kirk was scooped up by a trans-warp transporter beam and found himself at a world near the galactic core where the Borg disposed of their refuse. The planet was populated by ex-Borg members of the Hugh clan who purged Kirk of the Borg nanoprobes that were killing him. Kirk would then live among them for the next 2 years before finding an intact Borg scout ship and headed for the Alpha Quadrant. On his way back, Kirk would save the planet Chal from a natural disaster. After doing so, he remained on Chal, where he settled down with a woman named Talani, whom he lived with. Several years later, Kirk returned to Earth and was reinstated as captain in Starfleet, wed Talania, and became father when Talania gave birth to their son named Joseph. His wife died several years later, and Kirk's adventures would continue with his son Joseph in tow until 2381, when Joseph too was lost, saving the universe from invading aliens from the dark matter realm. It is unknown what Kirk's final fate is. Okay, next up is Spock. Though initially blamed for his part in the ultimate destruction of Vulcan, he is ultimately revered for his dedication to his people and receive a monument that is still standing, quoted as 3,000 years after his death. Unlike the other monuments, which are massive, his is life-size, reportedly because he felt making it any larger would not be quote-unquote logical. This actually keeps inside with the Star Trek Beyond storyline that has Spock perishing inside of the Kelvin timeline as he works to rebuild the Vulcan colony after the destruction of the planet. We don't have any other I guess, endings for the character of Spock. That seems to be the only possible outcome at this point. Chekov served as executive officer on the USS Excelsior from 2293 through at least part of 2298. After the events of the Undiscovered Country film, he eventually became a captain, and later in his life became a temporal agent, sometimes working alongside the temporal agent known as Daniels. Later, he became an admiral after commanding both the USS Potemkin and Sidonia. He remained on active service well past the Dominion War and into the Iconian conflict featured in Star Trek Online. Montgomery Computer Scott. Shortly after being rescued by the Enterprise D crew, Scotty became a teacher at Starfleet Academy, but stood in as temporary chief engineer aboard the USS Enterprise E for its inaugural voyage under Morgan Bateson. Later, Scotty was given command of the Starfleet Corps of Engineers and was primarily in charge of rebuilding Earth's infrastructure post-Breen invasion during the Dominion conflict. After being used by the Admiralty in a plot to destroy the Croplassans, Scotty resigned his commission in Starfleet. Scotty took a job on Risa then, repairing WeatherNet devices for a few years before returning back to active service. He was then given command of the USS Challenger, which he redesigned from scratch. Scotty gave his life to save his crew of the Challenger after it was trapped inside of a trans-slipstream wake. He remained on the bridge to ensure a rip would remain open back into normal space for the crew to survive. He was last seen on the bridge as the ship collapsed. Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy served on 3 vessels named Enterprise before being promoted to Admiral and head of Starfleet Medical. He finally retired from his position in 2354 and moved to a farm in present-day Georgia to live out his old days peacefully. By 2364, he had at least 1 great-grandchildren from his daughter Joanna. For McCoy, we actually have 3 separate endings to McCoy through beta canon sources. Number 1, McCoy died peacefully in 2366 at the home on Earth in present-day Georgia. He was married to Tonya Barrows, and although they had been married for decades, when they got married isn't exactly clear. The second ending we have was McCoy was alive and well into the 2379 thanks to the use of artificial body parts, many of which he developed. And number 3, McCoy is still alive in the 2380s, living at the Viri 5 Agricultural Cultivation Facility and using a wheelchair similar to that of Christopher Pike to get around. This would tie him directly into the events of Star Trek Online, which takes place just a few short years after that, so in 2409. So it's unclear if McCoy made it to that particular timeline. We don't see him featured in an older version of himself in the game, so I'm assuming at some point his artificial organs failed him. But again, like I said, we have 3 different beta canon sources for endings for McCoy, so you guys go ahead and believe which one you want. Captain Sulu, everybody knows that he eventually got command of the USS Excelsior, but after that, he was sent undercover as a Romulan into the Romulan Star Empire after the Romulans had kidnapped 6 Federation hostages. He eventually made his way to Remus and managed to send a short-coded message to a new refitted Enterprise for pickup and rescue of the hostages. Sulu eventually retired and entered politics, and was eventually elected President of the United Federation of Planets for a single term before finally retiring completely and living out his life. Not much is known about Uhura post her events in the film Undiscovered Country. We do know that she was promoted to the rank of Admiral and placed as head of Starfleet Intelligence until her retirement in 2377. She also worked very closely with both Sulu and Chekov for multiple missions, and occasionally with Spock for different intelligence aspects and things of that nature, but we do know that she made it to Admiral and then retired. Okay, everybody, that concludes today's video. I hope that you found it both interesting, entertaining, and informative. I'm curious to hear what all of you guys and gals think about the ends of the iconic TOS crew. I think Kirk definitely got a really bad shake. The fact that he got married, his wife died, and he lost another son, which is, I don't even know what that's doing to him. I also think that, you know, Scotty giving his life for his crew and allowing them to escape, I think that's very fitting for his character. The ultimate sacrifice in that position I thought made a lot of sense. I was surprised to learn that Sulu became Federation president. That's just really strange. And for you guys who are wondering, I personally believe in McCoy ending number 1, where he simply passes away in what is present-day Georgia with his wife, Tonya Barrows, peacefully on the planet of Earth. He doesn't continue on zipping around in his weird Christopher Pike wheelchair. That's me. That's how I feel. So anyways, guys and gals, please let me know what you guys and gals think of this. Tell me which McCoy ending that you prefer, 1, 2, or 3. I'm curious to hear what the consensus is between all of you. If you enjoyed this video, please throw a like and a subscribe up on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at RealKetwolski, and follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/RealKetwolski. And I will see all of you guys and gals next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies.